Hello, this is Fran, and this is the application process to go into engineering at Texas A&M. I wanted to begin this video by addressing a comment that I got in my last video regarding the entry to a major at Texas A&M Engineering. I haven't experienced entry to a major firsthand since I'm still a senior in high school, but I have read up some information about it online. I do know that when you apply for engineering at Texas A&M, everybody gets put into general engineering for their first year, no matter if you're applied for mechanical engineering, industrial engineering like I did, or any engineering, you just get put into general engineering for your first year. That I know. For entry to a major, from what I have read, there is an application that opens up. I believe this year it was in March for the 2026 class. Once that opens up, you get to pick 5 majors of engineering that you would want, and you have to rank them from the one you want the most to the one you want the least. There is a minimum of 3 majors, so you at least need to select 3 majors if you're doing this application. There are requirements for the application, which is like GPA and certain classes that you have to take in order to apply on your first year. And there's also considerations such as the classes you dropped, what grades you got, and all that. I will put the link of the thing I read in order to get this information if you guys want to know more details about what requirements are and the specifics of what is considered for your entry to a major. So to begin with the video, I'm going to go into some tips, the timeline of my application process into A&M and engineering. I don't really like long intros, so let's get on with the video. First, I wanted to give you guys a quick glimpse at the timeline of all the stuff I had to do in order to do my application for A&M and engineering. So I began my application on August 12th. I submitted my application on October 5th, and the early application for engineering specifically was due on October 15th, so I submitted it 10 days earlier. I received a confirmation email that my application was received on October 7th. I also received my SRAR. I submitted my SRAR on October 8th. I got admitted into A&M on October 13th, and I got admitted into engineering on October 31st. So now I'm going to go down the steps and tips of every step of the way. It is recommended that you start your application the summer before your senior year just because you have time. I do wish I started a little earlier because I did start in August. I think just because once you start school, you start getting homework and you got to study for tests, and it just becomes more difficult to make time for your application. So I would definitely recommend starting the summer, if not just like brainstorming ideas for your essays, finding out what the essays are, because the early action engineering application is really early in the year. I think it's one of the earliest deadlines there is. So I would definitely get to it if that's something you want to apply for. So I then made the mistake of forgetting to submit my SAT or ACT scores, if you have ACT scores, too late, and I had to put a rush order on them because I was really scared they wouldn't get them in time. So as soon as you have your desired SAT score that you know you want to submit, or not, because it is optional to submit it, at least it was for me this year, I would definitely send it in as soon as you can, just so you're not worried about it later, because I did have to pay an extra fee to rush it. So I would recommend at the beginning of the year, or maybe earlier, as soon as you can, to find out what your counselor requires from you to fill out their counselor recommendation letter and class rank letter if you need it. Because my counselor needed 10 days to write it, and she needed me to fill out a form. And I mean, I'm really thankful that I emailed her in time, because if I hadn't, I don't think I would have been able to turn in my application on time. I was really tight on time. I wish I would have asked earlier. So definitely find out what your counselor requires you to do to submit all that stuff. I wanted to do like a special segment on recommendations because it's really important, the way you ask for them and the way you submit them. So I would recommend asking for recommendations as soon as you can, whether it's at the beginning of your senior year or in your junior year. I knew a lot of people that asked their teachers during their junior year to see if they had any forms that they needed to fill out, or how many days in advance they needed to know about the application, just because Teachers get a lot of requests and you want to make sure that you're a priority. In picking your teacher, I would try to go with something, at least one of your recommenders should be someone that's relevant to your major. So I was doing engineering, so I chose my math teacher as my recommender. I would definitely try to make at least one of your teachers somewhat relevant to what you're trying to study. And definitely pick a teacher that you know could write something good about you, whether you've worked really hard in their class, achieved the law, or you just have an overall good relationship with them and you just know their recommendation could be really beneficial to your application. Third thing is really something a lot of people don't think about, but it's really important. Ask in person for your recommendation. Don't just send an email. I would definitely ask in person. Take some time in your day, whether it's during a free period, a passing period, whenever you have the chance. Go up to your teacher and politely request, hey, I really love your class. Could you please do a recommendation for me? Do you have any steps that I need to take in order for you to write it for me? Any forms you want me to fill out? I would really appreciate if you could write a recommendation for me. Anything along those lines is good. Fourth thing, this is a really important point. You are responsible of making sure that your teachers turn in their recommendation letter. So if you see that your teacher hasn't submitted it yet and you're kind of close to the deadline, I would definitely send them a friendly email, just reminding them to submit your recommendation. In Common App, which I'm going to go more into detail later in the video, there is a section where the recommendation is turned in. However, for A&M, for a certain reason, it wasn't working on Common App. And I found out that after you turn in your Common App and get a login for your applicant informational system, which I will go into further detail on what that is later, there is a place for your counselor to turn it in, because you can't see the letter, so you can't turn it in. You can't turn a file in. So I asked my teacher to send it to my counselor, and then my counselor submitted it for me, because they also need to submit a letter or recommendation themselves and a class rank letter if it's needed. My early application was due on October 15th, which was a Saturday, and there is a rule that is seen in the application section of the A&M website that says if the application deadline falls on a weekend, the Apply Texas and Common application will remain open until 11:59 Central Standard Time on the following Monday. Required documents will be accepted until 5 Central Standard Time on that Monday. My application was truly due on the 17th, that Monday at 11:59 p.m. So I do want to show you all the elements of the Common App application. I did make a brand new account on Common App to show you guys exactly what it looks like when you're applying. Here it is. So here's Texas A&M, and to add a college, you go to college search. You can either search it up or add it from here. Here's the Common App part of your application. There are all the sections that you have to fill out. Whatever you add in here will apply to all your colleges. Once you have added Texas A&M, you can find it in My Colleges. Then you click Texas A&M University, and you can find all the parts of the application. If you scroll down, we can see what the essays look like. So these were the essays for this year. The engineering essay is not here, probably because the deadline passed. I did include the topic of the engineering essay in my previous video, so if it's something you're interested in, make sure to go check that out. Scrolling up, you can see the link for your self-reported academic record. This is how I was able to get ahead on it before the school sent me the link. The questions section is where you will fill out most of your Texas A&M application. You have to include your essays here as well as other information such as scholarships. The engineering section is usually around here, but probably since the deadline passed, I can't see it right now. The recommenders and FERPA section is where you will sign a statement saying that you will not have access and will not read your recommendation when you submit it. It is also where your teachers will submit their recommendations through a link. However, as I will explain later in the video, Texas A&M does it a different way where you have to submit it through the AIS portal. The last section is pretty self-explanatory. It will just tell you what you need to do in order to submit, and this is where you will finally submit. I submitted my application on October 5th at 10 p.m. If you really want to feel at ease and have time to do everything, I would submit at least 2 weeks before the deadline. Just because after you submit your Common App application, there is another step called the Applicant Informational System. That is where you will find out whether you got into A&M and the engineering program, but it's also where you will submit additional documents that are part of your application. These documents include your high school transcript, your letters of recommendation, including your counselors, your class letter rank, and later on for your enrollment, other documents. So you will use this website a lot. So on October 7th, 2 days after I submitted my application on Common App, I received an email that said my application was received, and it also included a net ID number, which is what I used to activate my Applicant Information Systems account, which is where I would submit all the additional documents that my application needed. So the email walks you through everything that you have to do in order to activate it, so don't worry about that. So on October 7th, I received my student SRAR, one more time, SRAR link, which is self-reported academic record. And I did begin my SRAR before, just because I found the link for it on my Common App application, so I had already started it, but you do get an email for it after you submit your application. So what the SRAR is basically a very detailed transcript that you have to put in manually. So you have to put all your classes for every year, including the classes that you took on middle school that counted towards a high school credit. And you have to put your final grades for each class. If your school only has done your semester grades, you might need to do some math. So I got admitted into A&M on October 13th as an automatic admit, and I didn't get an email for it. I just checked my AIS page over and over and over again almost every day until I saw that it said admitted. I got admitted before the deadline for early action engineering, probably because it was automatic admission. I got admitted into engineering on October 31st. I got an email. It wasn't very colorful. It wasn't very exciting. It was just an email that said, you got accepted into engineering, congrats, or something like that. It wasn't very special, but I was happy. So after I was admitted into engineering at A&M, I accepted my admission by booking a date for the new student conference. And I did have to pay $225 in order to book the conference. I do know that if you were able to waive the fee for the application itself, you can also waive the fee for the new student conference if it's something that you need. So we've reached the end of the video. I really hope this video was helpful to you guys. If you guys have any other questions or any other videos that you want to see, definitely put it in the comments. If you know of anybody else that would be interested in this information, share the video, just give it a like and subscribe if you want to see any other content. Thank you.